Hi guys, Sarah Gaston here. Thank you so much for joining me. Listen, today I want to talk to you about the lost art of playing pretend. So I'm about to tell an old timer story. Okay, when I was a little kid, um, we had to walk uphill in the snow 20 miles both ways, and we liked it that way. No, I'm kidding. I live in Texas. There's not a lot of snow. Anyway, I digress. When I was a little kid, this was before everybody had a cell phone. There were no personal computers. We had like 3 channels on the TV and 2 UHF channels. I don't know, some of you may be old enough to remember that. Maybe you have parents that are old enough to remember that. Anyway, the reason I tell this story is because I played pretend a lot. I had a brother who was 8 years older, a sister who was 7 years older, and 5 years later, I got a younger sister who I didn't like for a while, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, I love her now. She's one of my best friends. Anyway, but my whole point is I spent a lot of time alone or with my friends, and we had to invent ways to occupy ourselves, So we would play at, Batman and Robin and, other superheroes, or we would, play a drive-in restaurant in the garage, or like one time we got a new, it was either a washer or a dryer, and there was this huge box. And so, my parents were very frugal. They came from the Depression. And so I didn't have a Barbie Town home like the girl down the street, Sarah Robb. So I made my own Barbie Town home, like sewed my own curtains, like used the knife to like cut out the windows and used tape to use the excess cardboard to make floors. Anyway, this is a very creative little child. Here's the whole point in telling you all this. Oh, the other thing that I did is I was really into animal shows. So I pretended I was Marlin Perkins in the backyard or his trusty sidekick Jim. And I would set up traps and I would trap animals, and then I would tag them with like a stapler and a piece of paper, and then I would let them go. So I was really fortunate in that from an early age, I developed a super active imagination, and it was not difficult for me to imagine myself in different circumstances. Unfortunately, what I see with a lot of actors these days that I coach or sometimes that I actually work with is they struggle using their imaginations. It appears to be a lost art. And here's the thing, that is like the number one thing you need as an actor is to imagine circumstances. And when I work with a relatively new actor in a mentoring relationship, and I say something like, well, you found out your husband's cheated on you and now you want a divorce. And they say something like, well, yeah, I've never been in that situation. I don't know what that's like. So this is where light bulb, our trusty imagination, comes in. You have to immerse yourself in the possibility of what it would be like for you if that actually did happen. Here's the thing, most actors are going to be confronted with playing a role that is vastly outside of their experience, because generally if something ends up on television or in film or on stage, it is something outside a regular person's experience of like going to like Trader Joe's or the Container Store, or maybe occasionally going to the beach in the mountains, right? You might, do something like be a photojournalist in a war-torn country, or you might be a famous syndicated, journalist and political parodyist. I don't know if that's a word, but that's what Molly Ivins did. And I played Molly Ivins, hence this is why I bring this up. So you got to figure out what that might be like by, playing pretend, And at a certain point as children, we're told like, you need to grow up, you need to stop playing pretend and, go do something productive with your life. And fortunately or unfortunately, our job as actors is to tap into that little child part that still remembers how to imagine things being different than they were. In fact, I rewatched the live action version of Cinderella last night, which is just incredibly beautiful and magical. So if you haven't watched it, please treat yourself. But in the narration, they talk about her being someone who doesn't see the world as it is, but sees the world as it could be. And that was part of, in this version of the story, that was part of Cinderella's magic, is that she could imagine a world that was different and better than the one that she found herself immersed in. And sort of that was her superpower. Anyway, that's also your superpower as an actor, and if we get to something like, Hamlet, okay, so maybe you've never, been a king of Denmark, right? Or a prince of Denmark, sorry, he was the prince. But you can imagine what it would be like to be royal, or to live in an atmosphere where everyone catered to your every whim. I mean, people fantasize about that all the time. Don't you fantasize about winning the lottery and, having a maid come in all the time, or having somebody to do all your errands for you? I certainly do. I would love to have, actually, I'd love to have anyway, that's a whole other story. I would love to have somebody come in and do all that stuff for me, right? So we fantasize all the time, right? So it's really no different, right? So, and when we get into like the superhero stuff, when we get into science fiction, when we get into anything that's like a period piece, then we have to expand our imaginations even more, because you probably don't see dragons every day, and you probably don't ride in spaceships and like try to blow up the Death Star. Maybe you do live action role play and pretend, right? You've never flown on a broom, I'm guessing. Although there are some people I know who I can imagine that they would fly on a broom, but that would be for completely different reasons. Anyway, so think about this. This is your job as an actor, to use your imagination. And if you feel like your imagination is rusty, or maybe like you're a newbie to imagining things, guess what? Your job every day from now on is going to be to spend some time just imagining. Just imagining. I had a lovely day yesterday. I went to the park, I got out a blanket, I laid on the grass, and I looked up at the clouds. And I did something I haven't done in years, which is I imagined the clouds. Like, what does that look like? Oh, that looks like a rabbit. Oh, that looks like a monster, like smoking a cigar. That's all it is. You just plain pretend. All right? And the more outlandish the role, the more outsized the circumstances, the more you're going to have to really call on your own sense of imagination and wonder and fantasy about what that world would be like for that character. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. I hope you find some time today to just play and relax and dream and imagine. Okay, if you like this video, please share it with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you want some goodies that you're not going to get anywhere else, I would suggest that you subscribe to my email list. It is www.sarahgaston.com, because I share some information there and some updates and all sorts of helpful tidbits that I don't share anywhere else that could be useful to you, whether you're a brand new actor or you're a working actor. And I also have a Facebook Live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, where you can ask me questions live. All right. Anyway, friends, stay safe and break a leg out there.